Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here with Jason Blaha Strength and Fitness, and today I want to chat with you guys and gals a little bit about the fact that machines have been largely popularized due to heavy drug abuse and enhanced bodybuilders. But a quick reminder, if you guys will please click like down below, it'd be greatly appreciated. If you're not subscribed or following, do so, and please drop me a comment down under the video. Let's get into the topic. Controversial point, but I think people need to understand this. When you go back and look at all those classic physiques that existed, for decades, they were mostly built on free weights. Okay, barbells, dumbbells, body weight exercises. No one had any trouble building a great physique. And in fact, you still see, even among people like CrossFitters and other people, you see amazing, phenomenal physiques all the time still. And they're still living on free weights, GPP, all this stuff. Yet we have machines that have been popularized. They've even been taught that, oh yeah, they're good for people, for new people, they're good for the elderly, but they're not necessarily the case. Those people really need to be doing big structural movements, right? We know this, right? We know movements that move their body through space is really what these elderly people need to be mastering, right? It's what they need to be mastering. And you don't even have to generally start them on machines. They could literally be taken by trainers and be assisted through variations of squats and hip hinges and things just fine. Okay, very, very, very easily. And that is literally what they need to be doing. They do not need to be on machines. But let's look at where machines got really popularized was due to Arthur Jones. Again, promoted a whole training system, and he made up all sorts of nonsense just built around the fact so that he could sell machines, right? So that he could sell these specific machines. And I'm not saying all the machines were bad or that some of them weren't good. But again, this was all marketing, right? He marketed entire bodybuilding training approaches just to sell his machines. And let's be clear, it's like you look at Arthur Jones, it's not like he was a lifter. Not like he was a lifter or bodybuilder, come on. He did not look like he lifted at all. So this was a business for him. But you start looking at the machines and people say, well, all these bodybuilders, tons of bodybuilders, and well, some of them don't. You still saw Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler and all those guys still doing big, heavy squats and deadlifts and things. But when you look at the machines, I want people to stop and think about this. If you guys considered why a lot of bodybuilders can't always do a lot of free weights, have you considered it's because of the drug side effects? And I think people don't think about this, right? Particularly when things like oral anabolics come into the mix. Everyone who's familiar with this already knows where we're about to go, right? They cause insane back pumps, insane back cramps, intense back pumps and cramping and things when you train, when the doses start going up. Well, think about that. So how easy is it for them to do the volumes they're trying to do on a barbell movement? Okay, keeping in mind most bodybuilders are trying to do really high volumes. They can get away with a little bit of barbell stuff. You know, even Ronnie Coleman over here doing a couple reps with 800 pounds on squats and deadlifts, now granted equipped and everything in wraps, but still going into the Mr. Olympia back in the day. Okay. But then all these guys have to finish up on all these machines. It's because they don't have the lower back and everything that can handle it. The intense cramps and pumps from the high doses of drugs, particularly when orals are added in, interferes. Okay, we need to be clear. This is directly interfering with their ability to train. The same thing when we think in terms of conditioning. They're all big. They carry a lot of muscle. So again, this is the problem. This trickles down to people and they think, oh, because these bodybuilders are doing it, this must be the way to train. No, any tension is going to help them grow. When you're on tons and tons and tons of drugs, all tension helps you grow. Any volume, any tension is going to work. Anything they can do to get to that muscle will absolutely work because they're on enormous amounts of substances that make them grow. They would be super jacked if they stopped lifting. But lifting obviously helps, let's be clear about that. They're all out of shape. So stop and think about that. Look how hard big bodybuilders can't do serious cardio. They just slow walk on a treadmill or whatever. They get on a stair step or on a slow thing. Why? They have no conditioning. The drugs cause so much inflammation, massive body weight, inflammation of the chest cavity and everything. A lot of them struggle to breathe. So they can't even do real cardio. So do you really think they're going to come in and do a bunch of volume stuff? They're like, man, I need to get 10 sets of 10 plus reps in for my quads and glutes today. You really think they're getting under a barbell to do that? They have no conditioning. They're not going to be able to do it. Between the back cramps, the back pumps, the running out of breath, they'll be dying over here. They literally can't do it. Right? A lot of them can't even handle the barbell rows. They can't even handle the barbell rows they need. Some of them can. They might get a few sets and then they go over to machines. All the stuff that we know built the backs of champions for decades, deadlifts, rows, heavy barbell rows, and weighted pull-ups. A lot of them get away with weighted pull-ups, but they just use the lat pull down their machine instead, right? They can't do this stuff. They're too out of breath. They're too out of shape. Between the enormous size and the inflammation and stuff of the chest cavity, the elevated blood pressure, they're too out of shape to do real training with real free weights. Therefore, machines got more popular. But then what do they pull it as? Well, they don't say that that's what's really happening. Well, I'm using this not to work this and isolate this part of the back or this part of the chest or the quad, right? They come up with all this stuff that they're doing to try to isolate these muscles. We all know that's not going to matter. Like, dude, your squats would do it. You're on so many drugs and so genetically blessed, all that would blow up from squats if you could do them. They would all blow up from barbell rows if you could do enough sets of them. Okay, but they're too out of shape. They'll have no work capacity, no cardio. They'll be on the ground dying. It's the side effects of the drugs and the overall size. They can't really function, a lot of them. I'm not saying there aren't exceptions, but they're the exception, not the norm. Right? They can't function. So therefore, oh, I use this machine, so then they make up all this nonsense. Well, if I use this and this exact cable in this machine, it works this one little angle perfectly. You know, it'd be something there. But like, really, you can't just incline bench? You tell me you can't clean a barbell up and do a standing barbell press and work that same area just as effectively? I bet you could. Tell me you can't do it on an incline bench? I bet you could. Now, a lot of them will do that. But do you see where we're going? They can't do it. So therefore, what happens? Then the machines get popularized. We'll see all these bodies, we do this, and it's to isolate this. Like, dude, does it really matter? We all know there's no evidence that isolating a muscle causes any more growth. In fact, all the evidence says compounds work just as well. I'm not saying not to ever isolate anything. As I'm saying that, you literally see me doing curls back there, strict curls. So I'm not saying never. But let's be realistic. That's not why they're all training with these machines and the cables and everything and taking the rest of their body out. It's because of the drug side effects. And then the inability to breathe, no conditioning, they're completely out of shape. Again, combination of both their total size and the inflammation all through the chest cavity and everything from all the excessive amounts of drugs. But then this is the way to train. And then other people, well, of course, I come in, I use all these machines and all this, my favorite bodybuilder uses these 5 machines and blah, blah, blah. And they think that that's the way, and it's because, no, that's the only way they can train sometimes. Not that it's superior, it's that it's the only way that they can train, and before long then it's being sold and everyone's coming in doing all of it, and it's really oftentimes a lazy way to train. Right? And I don't want to hear it. People say it is lazy. I'm out here in my garage sometimes in 95 degrees Texas heat doing squats and deadlifts. I don't want to hear it. Some guy in an air-conditioned room on a machine, just stop. They're not training hard. They're not training hard. It's a luxury. So just stop. Ronnie Coleman trained hard. Most of them do not. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.